Welcome to all to this crash course, Prelims 2019. This crash course has been designed to help you clear preliminary stage, which is the most important stage in this examination. Our endeavor of the crash course is to cover 1 year of current affairs, at the same time stress on those static part of the syllabus which is more important for this year. Because if we study the pattern of UPSC preliminary examination, we'll see that although the preliminary paper focuses on the static paper, but the inspiration and the motivation they take from current affairs. Let me elaborate this with few questions of last year, so that you will get an idea how should you go about in the next 3 months when you read current affairs magazine. So what should you focus upon and what should you skip? Because next 3 months, next 90 days is going to be very vital for your preparation. Each and every minute spent should be of use. You should not waste your time on reading some unnecessary stuff, because clearing this examination is all about what not to read, because the syllabus is enormous and today current affair is easily available. So people are like bogged down with number of magazines, number of current affairs websites and all this. So I'll first illustrate how should you go out, then we will start our polity. I'll be taking the polity part. In the next 3 days or 4 days we will cover the entire polity, and it is my promise to you all that most of the question which you see on 2nd of June or 3rd of June, 2nd of June will be from our class. Most of the polity questions will cover. So let me elaborate how they set question and how they take inspiration from current affairs. But they will ask the static. So for polity, you have only this book, Lakshmikant. No, nothing else. But you have to read magazine, and what you have to read and what you have to skip, I will illustrate with few examples. Here, there was a question on immunity of governor. Last year, there was a question on immunity of governor and salary of governor. Why was this question asked? If you have read last year 2017 current affair, there was a controversy related a governor in Northeast, that he was involved in some activity which is not expected out of a governor. So this question of immunity was brought in, because we all know under article, which article? Under article 361, they have immunity. So this question was asked. Let me elaborate one more question. There was a question on Committee on Subordinate Legislation. Parliament has many committees. One of that committee is Committee on Subordinate Legislation. Why was this question asked? Because last year there is an act called Prevention of Atrocities of Animal Act and Animal Trading Act. Some rules were framed by the government to regulate the trading of animals. And those rules were questioned in Supreme Court and in other forums, that these rules exceed the act itself. We all know that there are 3 types of laws. One is constitutional law, other is ordinary law, and the third is what? Subordinate law, or that is also called delegated legislation. These legislations are framed by the executive, not the legislature. The parliament has devolved power to the executive to frame these laws. So there was a law, there was a rule change in that act, and it was argued by many constitutional experts, many rights experts, that the scope of the rule went beyond the act. So who is entrusted with this responsibility to check that the executive does not make a rule which goes beyond the scope of the act itself? The Committee on Subordinate Legislation. So this was asked. So although you have to cover all the committees, when you revise this book, you have to cover all the committees, but some committees or some issues which are in news, those committees you have to read in depth. That is the way you should go about. I will suggest you go through the current affair. We are giving you this magazine. Go through it. Skip the analysis part, like Office of Profit. Skip the analysis part. That do we need Office of Profit law, this, that. Skip the analysis part. Go to the constitutional aspect. Go to the constitutional aspect. Many times it might not be written here in any current affair magazine. Otherwise the magazine will become a book. So you have to keep your standard book with yourself when you read this current affair magazine or any magazine. You have to read what? The static part. You don't have to read that, okay, Office of Profit, what should be done, what should not be done, or Sabrimala case, arguments for the judgment, against the judgment, should Delhi be given statehood or not. These things should not be covered now. You will waste your time. Delhi is important, so Article 239 AA is important, 69th Amendment is important. Then you will read the Union Territory chapter, basic things. All those things I will cover as far as possible. All the current affairs and their respective static portion which is expected in this examination, I will cover. Most probably we are expecting around 20 to 22 questions in polity this year. The reason being, last year polity was, number of questions on polity was decreased and number of questions on economy was increased. There is a fixed pattern. In 2017, 22 questions on polity was asked. Then 18, what they did? They reduced the polity to around 8 questions. So this year polity is very important for you. We are expecting more than 20 questions. So you should cover it. I will try my level best to cover most of the important aspects, but some questions I might skip also, or we might not be able to predict. So you have to read entire polity book. How you have to go about, I will explain, and then we will start our crash course. How should you read this so that you can optimize your performance? Let me explain this. If you see the Lakshmikant book, and if you see the questions asked in the preliminary examination, where all areas they are focusing, we have to read those chapters, because the entire book if you start reading now, it will be a waste of time. So if you see unit 1, you should cover unit 1 entire till amendment. Unit 1 goes to till amendment. Then you should directly skip to what? Parliament. Since 2019 we are going to have election, a new parliament is going to come, a new Lok Sabha is going to come, sorry. So questions related to dissolution of house, formation of new Lok Sabha, all these questions are expected. So parliament is very important this year. Further, since this year interim budget was there, so budget was also in news this year. We'll see, we'll cover everything. As far as possible, we'll cover all the static part which is important for this year. But I'm explaining you what to focus and what not to focus. When you do parliament, I will suggest you do state legislature together. Parliament, state legislature together. And in state legislature we have to do this year we have to focus on councils also. Why? Because there is a state called Odisha. They have what? Come out with a law that we want what? Council. So council is also important this year, very important this year. We'll see constitutional provision related to councils. Then I will suggest you, after you do parliament, you should do executive. President, governor together. When you do cover president, next topic should be your governor. Don't go to prime minister. In book it is what? Prime minister or council of ministers. Don't go there. I will suggest when you do president, you do governor. Then when you do prime minister, council of minister, cabinet, these three should be done together. or committees also, cabinet committees. These 4 topics should be done together, and similarly when you complete this you should then move to CM, Council of Minister, like this. Once you cover this 4th part, then you go to judiciary. When you do judiciary, at a stretch, in book it is not at a stretch. So you do judiciary, you do Supreme Court, you do High Court, and you do lower court or subordinate court, district courts and all together. But in the book the chapters are not in chronology, because first they will cover union government, then they will go on to state government, but our way of studying should be a bit different than this. We have to optimize. So most of the governor provisions are similar as president provision. He has ordinance making power, he has ordinance making power. Most of them are similar. Some of them are different, we'll see what are different for this year examination, we'll see. Once you do judiciary, then you go and do this special states. Some of states in India, there are some special provisions under Article 370 and under Article 371. Since Kashmir is in news, Article 335A is in news, 370 is in news. So this chapter, static part, is very important. Static part, which is there in this book, not in Current Affair magazine. Static part you have to cover. Once you do this, then you should go and do PRIs and municipal corporations, or 73rd and 74th amendment. Once you cover this, then you should go to scheduled areas. Scheduled areas which are 5th and 6th schedule. Then last topic or second last topic should be constitutional authorities and statutory authorities and executive authority. And last but not the least for this year is election, because this year we are going to have elections. This should be your chronology of studying polity. And my experience of clearing this exam, all 6 times prelims I have cleared back to back with score more than 150. Not more than 10 days you will require to cover this. Not more than 10 days. If you study like this, if you study जैसे इसमें दिया है, then it will take a lot of time. It might take 1 month also. But if you study like this, president, governor, you will see everything is same. Everything is same. Word to word. PM, Council of Minister, Cabinet, everything is same. Everything, word to word is same. Just CM ka jagah PM. Then judiciary, High Court, Supreme Court, High Court, and district courts. Then special status. This year this is in news for varied reasons. Recently a state in Northeast has what? Passed a resolution against the Citizenship Act. Bill, not act, still it is a bill stage. So this is also very important, special status of some of the states. We'll try to cover PRIs. But one thing is not covered in Lakshmikant, which we have to cover. Some basic aspects of what is constitution, what is the role of constitution, what is constitutionalism, what are rights, what are human rights. This is also in our syllabus, which is not covered in Lakshmikant. We'll cover that also. If you see the questions, some basics are asked. Last year there was a question asked, relation between law and liberty. For that some basic concepts are required, which we will do today. Today our goal is to understand some basic aspects of polity, so that if some fundamental question comes, we are in position to answer them. So is this clear? How should you go about preparing polity? And once you do one cycle, I will suggest you solve some complete test on polity. We also offer complete test on policy. Solve some complete 100 questions on polity, 200 questions on polity. Solve them. Once you do with one cycle, solve them. Again you do, then again solve them. Once you revise this 10 days, after 10 days solve 100 questions on polity. Again you revise next cycle, again you solve 100 questions, 200 questions on polity. Your preparation should be going like this: polity, history, then geography and environment, because a lot of overlap is there. History and polity, a lot of overlap is there. Then you should move on to economy, science and tech. Here you will cover culture also. So this cycle will take 20 to 25 days. The entire cycle will be completed in 20 to 25 days. So still 90 days are there. 3 cycle you can go. But when you cover this, polity, 100 questions you should solve. Again history, again 100 questions you should solve. So at least still also, I will suggest you cover this, solve 100 questions. Cover this, solve 100 questions. Maintain a small copy. Whatever conceptual mistakes you are doing, stop likho. Okay, CAG, I did mistake. Just 1 week before exam, your mistakes, you read again those static parts, because you have made a mistake on that topic. It is not easy to revise all the question paper. Someone suggests that revise all the question paper which you have solved throughout year. Is it possible to solve again revise 3000 questions? It is not possible. So whatever mistakes you are doing, I will suggest maintain a small copy. After taking the test, after evaluation, write these 5 concepts I have made mistake, biodiversity or whatever, and revise that in the last week, conceptual mistake, so that if the same question comes, you are not repeating your mistake. So this is the best way of preparing, and that will give you the maximum return. So let us now start our polity crash course. So the first topic which we will take today is constitutionalism. The first topic which we are going to start today is constitutionalism. You can write down. What is constitutionalism? Anyone in the class? What is constitutionalism? See, constitutionalism is a political philosophy which means limited government. Constitutionalism is a political philosophy which means limited government. Constitutionalism, first topic. But before we go into this concept, let us have a brief introduction about government and state. See, man has various needs. When our human civilization started, man discovered that his needs are unlimited, but his capacity to meet those needs are limited. Like you have a need that you want to get through this prelims examination. You cannot do it alone, so you are asking me to help you. Similarly, there are various needs of human being, man, which he could not alone satisfy them. So man went into what? Relationship of cooperation with others in order to fulfill those needs. In this process, various institutions of society started coming up. And the first institution was what? Family. And slowly and steadily other institutions like trade organizations, such kind of institutions developed in our society. But there was a problem. These institutions were what? Voluntary in nature. Anyone, anytime could decide to come out of that institution. So there was need for a sovereign authority which can enforce obedience from each and every member of the society. If there is a conflict, whenever we cooperate, there is a conflict. Suppose you with your friend cooperate, we will make notes together. One day before exam or 1 week before exam, he says, I will not give you the notes. It happens. So we need what? We need a conflict resolution authority in the society, which everyone has to obey. And thus, the concept of state evolved. Because before studying constitutionalism, we must be very clear about the concept of state and government. So what is state? State is a political community with a defined territory, with a population living in that territory, in which it has the sovereign power. For example, in the Indian territory, Indian state has the sovereign power. If you see the present conflict between India and Pakistan, it is over a territory, because territory is an integral part of the state. The state cannot be defined if its territory is not clearly defined. So whenever a state territory is not defined, it will be in perpetual state of conflict, which is there with India and Pakistan, Israel and Palestine, because the territory is not defined. Territory is what? A fundamental element of state. So state has what? 4 elements. Which are those? First is territory, then people living in that territory, then sovereign power. What is sovereign power? No power is above that power, or no authority is over that authority. That is sovereign authority. But state will need what? An institution, a machinery to exercise this sovereign power. That is what is our government. So state has 4 elements. State has 4 elements. State is an idea. Where can I see Indian state? In the government. Where is Indian state visible? Through the government. Through the government, Indian state exercises what? Its sovereign power and enforces obedience from its members of the society. So that is the concept of state. So there are 4 elements of state: territory, people, government and the sovereign power, which is exercised through the government machinery. So if you see the ancient or medieval times, the state was what? Absolute state. The state was absolute. By absolute, what we mean? The state had unlimited power. State had unlimited power. The king and the state was the same. The king's word was the law. He was the law-making authority, he was the executing authority, and he was the adjudicating authority also. Concentration of power led to absolute power. And we all know that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So during Enlightenment period, there was what? The authority of the state, the unlimited authority of the state or the king started getting questioned. Enlightenment period was period of question. This state survives on our resources. We are providing taxes and we are getting harassed. We are on the receiving end. So this was a period of enlightenment where ideas like democracy, equality, justice, liberty got ingrained in the minds of the people. And from that evolved the concept of constitutionalism. The constitutionalism is a political philosophy. It is not just one idea. It is summation of many ideas. And the aim of all those ideas is what? To restrain, constrain the power of the state. To domesticate the wild power of the state. We all have domesticated animals in our home. What is the difference between a domesticated animal and a wild animal? The behavior of a wild animal is what? Arbitrary. But the behavior of a domesticated animal is what? Controlled, regulated. Tommy, इधर आजा, आजा. आपको नहीं काटता है. क्यों नहीं काटता? Because power is regulated. चेन है आपके हाथ में. है ना? It cannot go also. But if you see the previous states, the ancient and medieval during that time, these were absolute rule. So from that idea, question of constitutionalism emerged. So what is constitutionalism? It is nothing but limited government. Limited government. How can we achieve this limited government? Okay, there are various ways of achieving it. The first way is what? Rule of law. You can write rule of law. The first principle or first idea which helps us to achieve constitutionalism is what? Rule of law. What is last year there was a question, what is rule of law? Or rule of law has following features. We'll see. We'll cover last 10 years question through this class. We'll see how these concepts are related and how they are asked in exam. So rule of law is very simple. Rule according to law. Not rule according to one political party or one political person. Rule according to law. But not just any law. If you see, during British period, we were ruled under a law. Some laws were there. Recently, there were many laws which were what? Said null and void by the constitution. Why? Because they violated what? Principles of rule of law. And our constitution is what? Based on rule of law. So, not necessarily rule of law means rule according to law, any law, no. If you see, Mahatma Gandhi violated salt law. He said what? Salt law is not a fair law, just law. So, rule according to law, but that law should be just, fair, and should follow principles of natural justice. That is rule of law. This concept was given by Professor A.V. Dicey. He gave 3 principles of rule of law, right? First was supremacy of law. Law should be supreme. If you see the ancient period, the medieval period, which was supreme? Who was supreme? Who was supreme? King. That is why in this context, first time Edward Coke in Britain made a statement that king should be below law and God. And said what? Law is equal to God. King is not God. In ancient and medieval period, we had divine right of king, divine right of kings, divine theory of state. That king is what? Representative of God. If you have read medieval and ancient history, in temples, along with God, they used to what? Put their own images also. Why? Because they said that we are representative of God. So people will obey their authority. So, first idea is rule of law. In rule of law, the first principle of rule of law is supremacy of law. Who is supreme in rule of law? Law, not a person. You may be as high as you can, but you are below law. If you violate the law, you might be prime minister or any higher dignitary. But if you violate the law, law will come heavily upon you. You will face the music of law. Second, equality before law. Second concept of rule of law is equality before law. You might be what? Bollywood star. You might be CM, PM, DM. But if you violate the law, you will be treated equally. Same courts, same jails are waiting for you. That is equality before law. And the third concept of rule of law is there will be some civil liberties. Civil liberties. And constitution is what? A result of these civil liberties. I'll explain this concept of third concept is a bit different. Constitution is a result of civil liberties. See, we have in our constitution first 2 principles. We don't follow the third principle in entirety. In our case, our liberties are mentioned in the constitution. Our constitution is not the result of the liberties, civil liberties or our rights. But if you go to Britain, they do not have any specific fundamental right mentioned in the constitution, because they do not have any one document of constitution. They have various written documents according to which the country is governed. So there they have this third principle. Their constitution is what? A result of civil liberties. In our case, our rights have been specifically mentioned in which part? Part 3 of the constitution. So these are the 3 principles of rule of law. Now let us see, last year they have asked one question. Let us see, are you in a position to answer them? Which of the following features of rule of law, which of the following principles can be regarded as, आपके पास नहीं है ये लग रहा है, आपके पास ये नहीं है sir. So please be attentive. Which of the following features can be regarded as the main feature of rule of law? First, limitation of power. Second, equality before law. Third, people's responsibility to the government. And fourth, liberty and civil rights. Liberty and civil rights. First, limitation of power. Second, equality before law. Third, people's responsibility to the government. And fourth, civil rights and liberty. Options are 1 and 3, 2 and 4, 1, 2 and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 4. Limitation on power is what? Supremacy of law. When you make law as supreme, you limit the power. So first concept is clear, rule of law. No doubt should be there. Let us go to the second principle of constitutionalism. People will say, why rule of law came in the exam? It is not mentioned in Lakshmikant, or it is mentioned in equality wale article 14 mein, but it comes from the very basic idea of constitutionalism. Second, separation of power. Second idea of constitutionalism is separation of power. As we have seen that in ancient period, all the 3 types of power of the government was in one hand. So in order to limit this power, what they functionally divided the power into 3 functions. What are the 3 functions of the government? To make laws, basically rules for the society, to implement those rules or laws, and if there is a conflict during that implementation, to adjudicate. So these 3 primary functions of the state or the government was divided. Once you divide, what you achieve? Limitation of the power of the government. So second principle is separation of power. Question will come, separation of power will achieve what? First, limitation on the power. Second, protects the rights and civil liberties. These are the 2 goals which separation of power achieves. What? It limits the power. At the same time, once they limit the power, they protect your civil liberties, rights. If I limit the power of the state, what I am doing? I am protecting your civil liberties. So second idea is separation of power. A third idea which is corollary of this idea is check and balance. Once you separate legislature, executive and judiciary, you need what? Check and balance also, because in this domain it can become unlimited. In this domain it can become unlimited. Is this domain they can become unlimited. So you have what? Check and balance also. Can you tell me how check and balance works in our constitution? How judiciary puts a check on the executive or the legislature? How? Can you tell me? How judiciary? Huh? Yes ma'am, that I agree. I am saying how judiciary puts a check on the exercise of the power by the executive and the legislature. Judicial review is what? This only. Judicial review. Question comes, judicial review is implicitly mentioned in our constitution, true or false? Judicial review is implicitly mentioned or explicitly mentioned in our constitution? हाँ, explicitly. कहाँ है भाई judicial review word? हाँ, 13 and 32. Explicit है कि implicit है? Implicit. Article 13 says that there cannot be any law which violates fundamental rights. So it is implicit, not explicit. In US, it is explicit. In our case, it is implicit. How the legislature controls these two organs? Since we are a parliamentary form of government, legislature and executive. So executive is always responsible to the lower house, Lok Sabha, and legislature, because of impeachment for these proceedings or impeachment power, controls the judiciary, and executive controls the judiciary through appointment power. Executive controls the judiciary through appointment power. So we will see how checks and balance works in our constitution. Is this clear? Judiciary checks through judicial review. Legislature checks both under Article 74, 75 and impeachment, and executive checks the judiciary through appointment. So checks and balance. Next principle of constitutionalism is rights. In our case, they are called fundamental rights. So there must be some rights which even the state cannot take away. Then only we will have limited power or limited government. There must be some rights which even the state has no power to take from us. These are inalienable rights that cannot be alienated from you. So rights are also what? One of the principles of constitutionalism, because it limits. Once I give something to citizen and say that no state can take, so I what? Limit the power of the state. Next principle, judicial review. Judicial review. Again here, if I have judicial review, I control the power of the state. Judicial review. State cannot do anything against the constitution. We'll see, when we'll come after constitutionalism, we'll study constitution. Then this idea will also become more clear. Judicial review. And judicial review is of no use if it is not having independence of judiciary. Judicial review is of no use if we do not have independence of judiciary. So next principle is independence of judiciary. Last, democratic form of government. See, in democratic form of government, what? People elect their own representatives and they can throw also. If the citizens have the power to throw, don't you think they limit it? Suppose we elect someone and he stays for 50 years. What tendency of abuse will be there or not? His powers will be unlimited or not? So don't you think democratic form of government or democracy limits the government? So democracy is an essential feature of constitutionalism. So question will come, which of the following are features of constitutionalism? These. And they will add one more, responsibility of citizen to the state. No, that is not constitutionalism. That is not constitutionalism. So you answer one question which came in 2014. 2014. What do you understand by constitutional government? Constitutional government. First option says, it places effective restraint on individual liberty in the interest of state authority. Option 1 says, A constitutional government is that government which places an effective restriction on individual liberty in the interest of the state. Option 2 says it places effective restriction on the authority of the state in the interest of individual. Which is true? First or 2? Second. Now you know very clearly. Many people made a mistake because हमारा तो आर्टिकल 19(2) बोलता है restriction on the individual. अरे हमारा बोलता है, ये हमारा क्वेश्चन नहीं है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पे जनरल क्वेश्चन. If you see the US Constitution, there is no limitation on fundamental right. If you see the US Constitution, there is no limitation on fundamental right. The US Supreme Court had to evolve a concept of police power of the state to limit the fundamental right. But there is no limitation on fundamental right. Because our constitution was framed in 1950, 200 years after or 100 years after these constitutions. So we took what? Ideas from them, what worked from them, what did not work for them. We learnt and we incorporated. That is why our constitution is what? How many articles US Constitution has? Huh? And how many articles our constitution has? Because we learned from their experiences and we use them in our constitution. But the idea of constitution is what? Controlling the power of the state, not controlling the power of the people. उनके पास ऐसे ही कोई power नहीं है, अब क्या control करेगा? Understood? This question you have understood? What is the constitutional government? Constitutional government is that government where the authority of the state is limited in the interest of individual liberty, not the other way around. Many students said both are correct. No, both are not correct. If you go to the idea of constitutionalism, if you go to the core of constitutionalism, you will understand only statement 1 is correct. Statement 2 is correct, not statement 1. That it limits the power of the state. One more question has come in 2018, last year, which is related to these concepts of basic concepts. Yes. Which of the following reflects the nicest, the most appropriate relationship between law and liberty? Option A, if there are more laws, there is more liberty. Second option, if there is no law, there is no liberty. Third option, if there is liberty, laws have to be made by the people only. And option 4, if laws are changed too easily, too frequently, liberty is in danger. Which option is correct? If there are more laws, more liberty. If there are no laws, no liberty. If laws are made by the people, then liberty. Or if laws are changed frequently, then liberty is endangered. Which option is correct? Option 4. Arey abhi itna, we have done so much Ram Kahani, then again you are making wrong. You are wrong. Ma'am, anything? You try. What did we say? We said that why did state came into picture? State came into picture because if there was no state, then people will fight themselves only. So we needed what? Sovereign authority. Law is what? Law is what? An instrument of state to regulate the society. Law is what? You remove law and put state. If there is no state, there is no liberty. Correct or not? If there is no state at all, liberty hoga आपका. Poor people, will exploit them. Rich people will exploit them. What ensures that liberty of the people are ensured? State. Okay. So if there are no laws, there will be no liberty. That is why the state has come. Because if there was no state, people will what? Exploit each other. Please come. This question is clear. Who was saying the fourth option? Can you explain why fourth option? You are saying that if laws are changed too often, liberty will be endangered. No, laws can be changed for good also. Laws can be changed for good also. Too often. Change karte raho law. Everyone should get 15 lakh rupees per year. A law should be framed that everyone should get food free of cost. ये भी तो हो सकता है. Good laws can be made and changed very frequently. That does not danger liberty. Laws are good or liberties are protected when it is made by people only. No, not necessarily. A king can make a law which is good and protects your liberty. A monarchy can make a law. An authoritarian person can make a law, or a single person can make a law. Can be changed, appropriate, most appropriate. Yes, your argument is correct, but the most appropriate. I am not saying you are completely wrong, all options are completely wrong. No, most appropriate answer. Okay. No, ordinance, there is difference between ordinance and law. Because ordinance violates separation of power. That is why it is wrong. There is a difference. Ordinance violates separation of power. So ordinance is an emergency mechanism given in our constitution, the power to the executive to frame law. That is why it is said what? Ordinance is not good for democracy, because ordinance is not good for constitutionalism, limited government. For emergency it has been given, but if you use ordinance, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, your argument is not completely wrong. I am not saying completely wrong. If you change laws very frequently, might be, liberty can be endangered. Might be. But laws can be changed frequently for good also. You see the Hindu marriage laws change हो रहा है. Now triple talaq, that Muslim personal law is going to change. Laws can be changed frequently for the benefit also. Understood, ma'am? Your argument is true, but most appropriate. Most appropriate is what? If there is no law, there is no liberty. If there is no law at all, so who will protect the rights? State is not there. State works through law. Yes. हाँ, that's what ना, वही बोल रहा हूँ मैं आपको. मैं क्या बोल रहा, सारा statement true है, most appropriate. If you go to the idea of state and the idea of constitutionalism, we'll see what? That state was brought in to bring order in the society. Why was state brought? The concept of state was brought because without state there will be disorder. People will fight, people will exploit. So we needed what? Sovereign authority. You are getting through. You got this explanation? All options are correct, but what is the most appropriate option? So we have done this. There is one more question has come on democracy, because we have done democracy also. Let me see how many of you are in a position to answer this. In democracy, what is more important? Intelligence of the people, intelligence of the people in power, the political party members, or what is more important in democracy? There was a question on democracy. What is more important in democracy? 2000. Democracy, what is important? People or the people in power? What is more important in democracy? Sir? People. So there was a question, I am unable to find that question. There was a question that in a democracy, which is more important for the success of democracy? The ability of the leader, like we have a great leader, or the ability of the people, or the ability of the political party in power, or fourth, there was something fourth also. Which is more important in democracy? People, because it is rule by the people, of the people, and for the people. So people are more important. There's one more question. What does equality mean? If you see the ancient period, some people had privilege, some people had no privilege. So equality means no privilege. That was also a question. Now let us go to the next topic. Constitutionalism is clear. I don't think there is any doubt on the idea of constitutionalism. I'll again reiterate myself. Constitutionalism basically means limited government, where powers of the government are limited. This is achieved through various principles. First one is rule of law, second is separation of power, third is check and balance, fourth is individual rights, fifth is judicial review, sixth is independence of judiciary, last is democracy. Do we have constitutionalism in India? Do we have constitutionalism in India? Yes. We'll see how. The second topic is constitution. How to achieve constitutionalism? So constitution is one of the instruments to achieve constitutionalism. How to achieve constitutionalism? We can achieve through constitution. We'll see how. Can anyone define what is constitution, ma'am? Supreme law of land. Why it is supreme? Who will define that? Any definition should be complete. Right? Constitution is the fundamental law of the state. Fundamental law of the state, which ordains the governance structure under which people are governed. Which ordains the governance structure under which people are governed. It organizes the state into different organs and defines their roles, powers, and limitations. Full stop. It also regulates the interrelationship between these organs and their relationship with the people. We will see how this definition will clarify the basic idea of constitution. So we said what? There is a state. State has what? People. We want what? Domestication of the state. We want to domesticate the state because state makes laws for the people. State governs the people. So there must be some control over the state. So what? That is constitution. Constitution is the law which governs the state. See, state makes laws to govern us, but there must be a law to govern the state. That is constitution. You can draw this diagram, it becomes very clear. Then we said what? Since we want state which is limited, so we divide the state power into various organs. Because we want a limited state, that is what, for what constitution has come. Constitution has come to limit the power of the state. So what constitution does? It creates different organs. It defines their role, which is law making, which is executing the law, and which is adjudicating the law. It defines. But you cannot perform your role without power. If your father says, your role is to clear rank 1 and does not give you any resource, no pen, pencil, nothing, sit home and clear rank 1. You say, how can I clear? Similarly, any function has to be backed up by power or authority to perform that function. So that also is given by the constitution. Further, their relationship should be regulated. It cannot be arbitrary. Further, all this is for the people only, we have seen. So their relationship with people. Everything constitution tells. Can you tell me one thing? What is this? What is this? What regulates the relationship between the organs of the state and citizen? Anyone? Basic, what is our relationship with the state? What is our relationship with the state? Fundamental right. That is the only relationship we have with the state. Or no other relation. We have only one relation. That state cannot take our fundamental right. And that is regulated by the constitution. Our relationship with the state is regulated by our fundamental right only. And that is protected by the constitution. So these are what? Fundamental rights. Some constitution gives duties also. Some, not all. Because your relationship with the state is your duty also. So now you understand from where duties and rights have come. Because that is your relationship with your state. Rights, basically rights. But they have said that, some of the countries they have said that why rights and duties are correlative. So we should have duties also in the constitution, but not necessary. The idea of constitution is not about duties. जो आया क्वेश्चन में कि people's responsibility towards government, नहीं. That is not the idea of constitution. The idea of constitution is what? State's responsibility towards people. State should not be taking away our fundamental right. That is the idea of constitution. Protection of personal liberty, individual liberty. That is the idea of constitution. So always keep in mind, although we have duties, but that is not the idea of constitution. Some countries, because mostly socialist countries brought this idea of duties. Initially, when you see the modern constitutionalism, where did modern constitutionalism begin? Which country? Modern constitutionalism begin from where? Begins from where? Magna Carta. Magna Carta. Have you heard about Magna Carta? That was the beginning of the modern constitutionalism. That was the first time when the authority of the king was limited. Slowly, constitution making started in Britain. That is why it is said Britain does not have a written constitution, because it has evolved. What is the difference between written constitution and unwritten constitution? It is not that in unwritten constitution nothing is written. Everything is written there also. But they do not have constituent assembly, that one time they have sat and they have written the constitution. Their constitution has evolved. There was not one period in the history of that country that they have sat as a constituent assembly to frame their constitution. There are many periods where laws have evolved. But in written constitution, there was one time when they sat and they wrote their constitution. Like we will also study our constituent assembly. We will also study. So that is the main difference. That in written constitution, one time they have sat down as a constituent assembly and formulated and codified in one document. They have many documents. That is the difference. Written and unwritten. So is this clear what is constitution? So there is a debate, that question will come. Does constitution guarantee constitutionalism? Ma'am, if you have constitution, does it guarantee constitutionalism? Yes? No. No. See, it might be a constitution can be in such a way framed that it gives unlimited power to the executive. It might give. Because what is constitution? Constitution is way of dividing power. It might give. So, to have a constitution permeated with the idea of constitutionalism, the constitution should have all the features of constitutionalism, like separation of power, we have rule of law, we have independence of judiciary, we have some fundamental rights, we have. There might be one constitution which does not protect the fundamental right properly or rights properly. And there might be a case that they do not have any constitution, but they have constitutionalism like in Britain. So not necessarily that if there is a constitution, there is constitutionalism also. Only a constitution which is permeated with the philosophy of constitutionalism, which is separation of power, which is fundamental right, which is check and balance, which is democracy, which is, there are many constitutions. There is one president in Africa. What is the average age of this class? Not more than 25. He remained president for 30 years. Is it limited government or unlimited government? Huh? Limited? Unlimited. There was one president, Mr. Robert Mugabe. For how many years he was the president? What is your age? No, we should not ask age. Robert Mugabe. Which country? Huh? Zimbabwe cricket? Huh? He was president for how many years? 30. More than anyone, I don't think anyone is more than 30. He was president for 30 years. But something wrong must be there in their constitution. It must be giving some unlimited power to some. So that is what is constitutionalism. So there might be a case where you have a constitution, but you do not have constitutionalism. On the other hand, there might be also a case that you do not have a written constitution, but then also you have constitutionalism, like in Britain. A question can also come. True, which of the following statement is true? This also question can come. So I believe now that this idea of constitution, constitutionalism is clear in your mind. Now we will start with the first chapter, which is what? History of or historical background of our constitution. But before that, we need to know this basic concepts, because 1 or 2 questions are expected on these basic concepts also. One year the question came, rights are what? Claims of citizens against the state or claims of state against the citizen? What are rights? Claims of citizens against the state or claims of state against the citizen? Huh? Second one. First one होगा ना. अभी इतना राम कहानी we did that why, what are rights? Protection of your individual liberty. So you claim from the state that you cannot take my rights. So rights are what? Claims of citizens against the state. This claims of citizens. We'll see what is difference between citizen when we'll come to the chapter of citizenship. So now let us start with our first chapter. See, I will not take everything because it is not possible in 4 days to take everything. My judgment that which topic is important this year, which topic is not important this year, according to that I will cover the entire book. So this year I believe, because it is 2019, so 1919 Government Act is very important. 100 years of 1919 Government of India Act, but for you I'll just briefly run through all the acts. See, the birth of modern constitutionalism in India started from where? Started from where? Modern constitutionalism, not constitution, modern constitution. Huh? Then Magna Carta in India I am talking about. The birth of modern constitutionalism started from where? When? The charter given by the Queen to the company. 1600. From there on. So that is not important. What is important from 1773. This will not come, but I am giving you an idea. From when did this modern constitutionalism in India started? When the company which came to do trade or whatever was regulated, it did not have unlimited power. It was under a charter. Okay. 1773, what did 1773 did? We'll reach here, we'll reach 1919, we'll do 1919 in depth, but this flow has to be very clear in your mind. '92 or '91? Huh? 92 or 91? Are? Huh? 91. See, 1773 what happened? Governor General became Governor General of Bengal, and other two governors of two other presidencies, Bengal and Madras, were subordinated to him. Supreme Court came. These are the features of 1773. What was the basic purpose? The question comes, what was the basic aim of 1773 Regulating Act? See, if you see the period of Robert Clive, his period is called period of loot in India. So in order to what? Regulate power of the company, they brought this act, Regulating Act. Now you can understand why the word regulating, because the intent was what? To regulate the unlimited power exercised by this company, Regulating Act. So there was a special provision in this act that no company official can take bribes or can do private trade. No company official can take bribe or do private trade, because during the Robert Clive period, they looted India like anything. The company bribed the people like anything. So in order to protect, in order to control the power of the company, regulating, see the name, Regulating Act. Slowly, slowly, the company will be regulated by the British Parliament. This act was brought by which parliament? British Parliament. Then 1784, what did 1784 did? Started double government. It established what? Board of Control and Board of Directors. Board of Directors for commercial, Board of Control for civil and military. 1830, what is the main? See, I am only dealing those points where question has been asked or can be asked. I am not here to teach everything. So 1813, what is the most important part? 1830, government law, the British East India Company lost monopoly in trade. In monopoly was lost. (1833). What is 1833 famous for? Anyone? Governor General of India. He became what? Governor General of India. Who was the first Governor General of India? Lord Bentinck. Lord Bentinck. So the first time in this period, Government of India, that word, that all this territory is in Government of India, this word was used here. And here the monopoly on trade was lost, entire world. Here the company ceased to be a company. Here the company ceased to be a company. Initially it was a trading company. So company ceased to be a trading company. Now it is only sole and whole for what? To govern the territories in India. Sole and whole, the aim was now what? To govern. 1853, starting of parliamentary system in India. This question once came. Which act started the parliamentary system in India? What is the answer? 1853. Why? Because the Governor General's Council was separated into Executive Council and Legislative Council. If you separate the Legislative Council, this means what? Starting of parliamentary system. Starting of parliamentary system is from where? 1853. This is very important. They can ask, but this year they will only ask 1919. पर आप लोग पढ़ लो, आएगा तो यही. 1858 Act of Good Government. Act of Good Government. The power was transferred to British Crown, and now the Governor General of India was known as Viceroy. Lord, who was the first Viceroy? Lord, कैसे निकलेगा? हाँ, Canning. Lord Canning. ठीक है. These are not that important. Slowly what? Indian representation started. These two are about that. That Indian representation started. This is important. This will come and this will come this year. हाँ वही slowly Indian representation in this council started. But these are not important. मत पढ़ना आप. बहुत harassment होता है उसमें. इसमें क्या हुआ थोड़ा थोड़ा ऊपर से ही बस. This is important. This is important. Read this entirely. I will also deal. But while you revise at your home, you read these two entirely this year, 1909 and 1919, because 90 years and 100 years. 90 years and 100 years. What was 1909 known for? Communal electorate. And who was the father of communal electorate? Minto. This was also called Morley-Minto reform. And Minto, who was the Viceroy of India at that time? Morley was, who was Morley? Secretary. And he was Vice. One thing here, 1858, one new post was created. Secretary. Who was the member of the British cabinet. Now he was the sole and whole responsible for governance in India. Secretary, and he was given one small cabinet or small council to advise him. But these things will not come this year. This will come this year. Communal electorate and Morley-Minto reform. What happened in 1919? This is very, very, very important. First time, what they did? They divided power between the provinces and center. Between the provincial legislature and the central legislature. Indian central legislature. They divided. First time the power was divided. Second, legislature. Second, diarchy was introduced at the provincial level. Diarchy. What was diarchy? Let me explain. See, this provincial list was divided into two: transferred list and reserved list. Transfer list was given to the ministers and reserved list was with the governor. This is called diarchy. One more important, bicameralism in India started during this period or after this act. Bicameralism in India. We have Lok Sabha, Raj Sabha. When did it start? Here, 1990. Only these three provisions will come. There are various provisions that Public Service Commission was made, this, that will not come. Only these three provisions will come. Ma'am, which one, ma'am? Diarchy. D-Y-R-A, diarchy. No, A-R-C-H-Y, diarchy. Only these three provisions are there. One more provision, if they can ask, this communal electorate was extended to Christians, British Indians, others also, communal electorate. Here communal electorate only to Muslims. But they will ask only this, communal electorate which year? 1919. Division of list into provinces and central which year? 1919. Diarchy 1919. Diarchy at the provinces, be very careful. Be very careful. Diarchy at the provinces. Diarchy at the provinces. Now let me read a question which already has come in 2016 on this. Which of these are the principal features of Government of India Act 1919? Which of these are the principal features of Government of India Act 1919? Introduction of diarchy in the executive government of the provinces. Introduction of diarchy in the executive government of the provinces. Second, introduction of separate electorate for Muslims. Clearly it is written, separate electorate for Muslims. Separate electorate was introduced here also, but for other communities, not for the Muslims. And third, devolution of legislative authority. Devolution of legislative authority between the provinces and the central. Options are 1, 2 and 3, 1 and 3, 1, 2 and 3. 1 and 3, excellent. See, this has already been asked in 2014 or 13. This year again they will ask something related to this. These two acts are very important. This also becomes important, although last year they have asked on 1935. What question was there last year? That what did 1935 did? 1935 created what? Federation which included both British province and princely states. Second, it created what? It divided the power by creating 3 lists: central list, provinces list and concurrent list. 1935. And whatever was not there in these 3 lists, which is called residuary power, it gave residuary power to whom? Last year there was a question. That 1935, the residuary power which has not been mentioned in these 3 lists, was given to which institution? Center. Very good, excellent. You will top this time. Yes, Governor General of India. But now in our constitution, it is given with, as ma'am has pointed out, to the center. But this was a last year question. But this becomes again important 1935 this year. If you see, there is a controversy in the month of December that a chief minister from some state said that we do not want 7th schedule. Basically, he did not say we do not want 7th schedule, he said what? We do not want concurrent list. We do not want concurrent list. The question can come, this 7th schedule has been borrowed from where? US Constitution, British Constitution, or Government of India Act 1935, or some other Canada Constitution or anything. From where? Government of India Act 1935. Because there was a controversy about 7th schedule, about the concurrent list. They said that we do not want this concurrent list, you abolish this. Have a clear-cut division between center and state. Because in the concurrent list, both can formulate law, and which law will have weightage? Center or state? Center. But there is a special provision where state law can also be there. Will come when we will discuss that. But what is important here now is 1935 Act, because if question comes, this 7th schedule provision has been borrowed from this concurrent list, state list and union list, has been borrowed from where? Government of India Act 1935. If you go to the US Constitution, they have how many lists? होमवर्क जाके देखना, but that is not, they will not ask these things, but that is your homework. You take that as a homework. How many lists US has, how many lists Canada has, how many lists Australia has? But our this federal feature of 7th schedule has been borrowed from Government of India Act 1935. This is very, very, very important for this year. So this chapter is done. First chapter is done. What is important in this chapter? 1909 and 1919. What is important in this chapter is 1909 and 1919. Now let us go to the next chapter. Union list, central list, that was called that time. Let us now, second chapter, making of constitution. This is also very important this year. Why? I will explain. Making of the constitution. See, when was our constitution adopted? Which date, ma'am? 1950. Very good. See, this year we are celebrating 70 years of 1949. चुन चुन के लाया हूं मैं आपके लिए, बहुत मेहनत लगता है, बहुत दिमाग भी लगता है इसके पीछे. This year we are celebrating what? 70 years of what? Adoption of our constitution, not commencement, adoption. Next year we will celebrate 70 years of commencement of our constitution. So both year is important. This chapter is very, very, very important this year. So please kindly, in first chapter 1990, 1909, in second chapter this is very important. So they will ask question like this. 26th November is celebrated as now Constitution Day. They can ask which of the following is the Constitution Day, but it is very easy. Bank PO question. आपसे नहीं पूछेगा. What they will ask? So they will ask formation. Which was the body responsible for making our constitution? Constituent Assembly. They will ask about this. So what led to formation of Constituent Assembly? Anyone? Cabinet mission. They'll write. Constituent Assembly was an outcome of Cripps mission, August offer, Cabinet mission, or something else they will write. So what was the Cabinet mission? It was a result of Cabinet mission. This is very important. In history they might ask, write the chronology, August offer, then Cripps mission. Sometimes they will ask you to tell the chronology, Cabinet mission. This is very important. This can come in your history also. Tell us the chronology of events, how did it occur. Now let us come to Constituent Assembly. It was a result of the Cabinet mission. Next question they can ask is the composition of Constituent Assembly. Question: were the members of the Constituent Assembly directly elected by the people? True or false? Directly elected by the people? No. Second, all the members of the Constituent Assembly were elected. All the members of the Constituent Assembly were elected, or some were nominated also? Some were nominated. This question will only come. They will give you two statements. Which of the following is true about the Constituent Assembly? So what was the composition? It will comprise what? The provincial legislatures, the members, they will elect. And second, the princely state, The ruler will nominate two types of members. I am not going into deep how many members, 300, 299, all those things is not required. Don't remember all those things. Conceptual part is related, is important for the exam. Question will come, all the members of the Constituent Assembly were directly elected. False. All the members of the Constituent Assembly were indirectly elected. Again false. All the members of the Constituent Assembly were nominated. Again false. Constituent Assembly had both kinds of members, indirectly elected and nominated. Only these two aspects is important. Constituent Assembly had two kinds of members, indirectly elected from the provincial legislatures and nominated. And what was the basis on what type of election? Proportional, representation and single transferable vote. This aspect is also very important. Please read this section properly. This is very important. Constitution making is very important this year, because this is 70 years of adoption of our constitution. So, who were responsible, who have contributed in the making of constitution becomes very important this year. Very, very important this year. In your history, this year please read about Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. They might ask one exclusive question on this also. Might. So, this constitution was, small committees were framed to look into in depth of various issues. So, they might ask this also. So, you can write 4 committees which are very important. Union Powers Committee. Who was the chairman? This Constituent Assembly worked in committees, small committees. Like our parliament works also in committee. In-depth scrutiny can happen. So, who was the chairman of Union Powers Committee? Ma'am? Huh? Patel. You will pakka top. Anyone? Yes. Union Powers Committee? Nehru ji. Union Constitution Committee? Again, Jawaharlal Nehru. Provincial Constitution Committee. Provincial Constitution Committee. Sardar Patel. Drafting Committee. Drafting Committee. Ambedkar. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Rights Committee. This is very important. Rights Committee. Again Sardar Patel. Rights Committee. Sardar Patel. Steering Committee. Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Rules Committee. Dr. Rajendra Prasad. And States Committee. J.L. Nehru. States Committee Nehru ji. States Committee. But what is in this, what is important? Drafting Committee, Steering Committee, Union Powers Committee and Provinces. These are important. Other committees are also there. Please don't read them. They will not ask. Now, Drafting Committee. This is very important. Drafting Committee. Names of the members in the Drafting Committee. They might ask this year, because this year is 70 years of adoption. They might ask. Chairman was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. N. Gopal Swami. N. Gopal Swami. Next. Aladi Krishna Swami Iyengar. Sorry. Number 2, ma'am, N. Gopal Swami Iyengar. N. G. Iyengar. N. G. Iyengar. Third, Aladi Krishna Swami Iyer. Fourth, Dr. K. M. Munshi. Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, Dr. B.R.M. Dr. K.M. Munshi. K.M. Munshi. Next, Sayyid Muhammad Sadullah. Sayyid Muhammad Sadullah. मोहम्मद, ये दिया हुआ है, मतलब जस्ट आपका याद रहेगा. एन माधव राव एंड टी कृष्णमाचारी. these were the original members. They can ask which of the following were not the members, or which of the following names was one of the member original. They can ask this year, it can be asked. हाँ मैम बोला टी कृष्णमाचारी. So two things in this comes. One was adoption and other is commencement. Don't get into the trap. They will write constitution commenced on which day? 26 वहां भी लिख देगा, फंस जाएंगे आप. Commenced was on 26th of Jan. Adoption 26th of November. How many days it took? They might ask. 2 years, 11 months and 2 years, 11 months and some days. 18 days. 15 or 18, whatever. Please, you can go through that. So, who is called the father of constitution? Again, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So, although the constitution commenced on 26th of November, but some of the features were already operational from this date, like citizenship, election. This is also important. Why was 26th January adopted? Purna Swaraj. So for history, please revise this year, Purna Swaraj. Which was the session, Congress session, ma'am? Which session, Purna Swaraj? 1929, 90 years. This is important. 1929 Congress session is important this year. 1929 Congress session is important. Who was the chairman during this session? Who was the chairman? Jawaharlal Nehru. So please, when you read history, you can read this. Is very important this year. So we have completed this. Basically, two types of question can come. One is the types of members of Constituent Assembly: indirectly elected and nominated. Indirectly elected and nominated. Either this question will come. What led to formation of Constituent Assembly? Cabinet mission. This can come. Or this date, this factual data can come. Committees ka naam, members of the drafting committee, or the date itself can be asked. Commencement and adoption. So let us move forward. This chapter is done. See, next chapter is salient features. Salient features. I have already discussed this idea of written constitution. I have said what? Written constitution is a constitution where Constituent Assembly, they sat once and they enacted their constitution. But unwritten constitution is not that nothing is written. They also have written documents, but it has evolved as an organic document. It has evolved. Second, our is what? Rigid or flexible? Huh? Mixture. Golden mean, Gautam Buddha. So let me here only we will take this amendment provision, because this year amendment is very important in polity. Why? Can you tell? 2 times our constitution was amended in the last 1 year. Which all 2 amendments? Huh? Sir, abhi recently we have amended our constitution. What is that amendment called? Number? Huh? 1 not? 1/24 तो नाम नेम ऑफ दैट अमेंडमेंट बिल था, नंबर था. अमेंडमेंट का नंबर क्या है? व्हाट इज द नेम नंबर ऑफ द अमेंडमेंट? अरे 102nd and 103rd. 103rd is what? For अभी तो economically backward, and this is for what? NCPC. Please, if you don't study, how will you clear? But don't worry, all these questions which I will discuss will only come. So let us discuss amendment. See, when you read this current affair, don't read 102nd amendment. What was there in 102nd amendment? Which all provision amended? They will not ask this. They will ask amendment. Amendment and some basics of amendment. So in our constitution, amendment is of 3 types. One is outside 368. One is outside 368 and one is under 368. Under 368 there are 2 categories. Some part of our constitution can be amended without what? Using article 368. Those are not considered amendment under article 368 by simple majority. What are those? This is important. Like citizenship, like formation of state, like change in name of state. List is there, exhaustive list is there in our book. Kindly go through it. Kindly go through it. Citizenship, formation of state. This is important because name change has happened in some states, or some states are demanding name change and all. So changing name, we need to what? Amend the constitution, but that is not an amendment under article 368. So go through this list. Kindly go through this list. Very important. Salaries, all these are included here. But most important are what? Citizenship, formation of states and name change of states. These are under this. Under 368 there are 2. Federal features. Federal features, they require what? Consent of state also. And other provisions which are not included in this and not part of our federal feature comes under this special majority. Here also special majority, but one more condition is that 50% state should give consent. 50% of the state should give consent. So let us see what are here. If you see what are here and what are here, then we will get automatically what will be here. So what are here? Where we need consent of the state plus special majority of the parliament. What is special majority of the parliament? Majority of the membership plus 2/3 and voting. So what will come here? Anyone? What will come here? Sir, please, what will come here? Election of president will come here. 7th schedule will come here. Seventh schedule will come here. Here, fifth schedule, sixth schedule, seventh schedule will come here. We have already discussed what is seventh schedule and from where it has been taken. Government of India Act 1935. Seventh schedule, election of president. Supreme Court and High Court. All these things will come where? The executive power of the union, states, all these things will come. Basically wherever federal features are involved. So what is left here? Fundamental right, DPSP, fundamental duty. So now can you tell me what will be 103rd amendment? Which part it has amended? Question will come. 103rd amendment has been amended through what? Consent of the state or with only parliament only? Huh? So we have to see what has it amended. क्या amend किया है? क्या amend किया? What part has been amended? Part 3, fundamental right. NCBC, which article it has amended? Which article? NCBC? Huh? Which article, ma'am? Which article? NCBC? 338? 338? 338? So that will also come here only. Because it is not here. If you see the lists, if you see the list has what? Creation of new state, admission of a new state, and one more, abolition of legislative council will also come here. Abolition of legislative council, salaries of MPs, privileges of parliamentary members, official language, election to the parliament, delimitation commission, all these things will come here. So this 102nd and 103rd amendment is what? This. But GST amendment, which amendment? 101st will come where? GST amendment has federal feature or not? So will come here. It requires consent of the states also, 50% consent of the state. 50% of the state should give consent. Revise this. So amendment chapter, what you have to revise? Directly come here. Question will come from here only. Because it is not mains that you have to argument, should we have amendment provisions and all these things, we don't have to read. Directly will come here, we'll see the list here. This is simple majority and not considered amendment. This is simple majority and not considered amendment. Only these are considered amendment under Article 368. Special majority, what is special majority? And what comes here and what requires? Consent of the state. Consent of the state requires election of president, extent of executive power, Supreme Court and High Court, distribution of legislative power, which is 7th schedule, and representation of states in parliament, Rajya Sabha, that is also a federal feature, bicameralism, federal feature. And one more thing, power to amend the article, if you have to amend Article 368 only, this will be also. Yeah. Why? Because written constitution is what? A significant feature of federal country. Written constitution is a significant feature of what? Federal country. So Article 368, if you have to amend, question will come, if you want to amend Article 368 itself, what sort of amendment it will be? Special majority of the parliament plus consent of 50% of the state. Then let us do the controversy of basic structure, because it is related to amendment only. Question will come, can you amend the fundamental right? Sir, can you amend fundamental right? Can fundamental right be amended? Yes. Can preamble be amended? Yes. These two statements are very critical. Can fundamental rights be amended? Yes. Can preamble itself be amended? Yes. We'll see what was the controversy. See what happened after independence. Land reform was a very big concern. Land reform was a very big concern. So we had one fundamental right which was called right to property. So if you have to redistribute land in the society, you have to do something with right to property. So fundamental right amendability came into controversy. So there are series of judgments starting from Shankari Prasad to Golaknath, then Keshav Nanda. Through this we will understand amendability of fundamental rights. So as we were discussing, Article 13 says what? Article 13 says what? No law can be framed which takes away fundamental right. No law can take away fundamental right. But the controversy was, law in Article 13, does it include constitutional amendment law? That was the controversy. The controversy was that law in Article 13, does it include constitutional amendment law also? See, law can be of, this is also very important. Let me briefly tell you, law are of two types, natural law and positive law. Positive law are laws which are made by humans, and natural law already available in the nature. Natural law, like human rights comes from natural law. Human rights comes from what? Natural law. Positive law can be divided into two forms, international law and national law. Human made laws can be at international and national level. National level law can be constitutional law and ordinary law. National level law can be constitutional law and ordinary law. What is constitutional law? What is constitutional law? Law which governs the state. Law which governs the state is constitutional law. Constitutional law has inside constitution, constitutional amendment, convention and supplementary legislation or complementary legislation. The law which governs the state, we said now, what is constitution? Constitution is that law which governs the state. But constitutional law is a broader term. It includes constitution, further it includes amendments to the constitution, some conventions and complementary legislations also. For example, Article 17 says what? Parliament can make a law to outlaw untouchability. So you have to come with a law. That law is what? Complementary to the constitutional law. So that is also considered constitutional law. So laws are of two types, constitutional law and ordinary law. So the controversy here was what? The law in Article 13, does it include ordinary laws only or includes constitutional law also? Clear? Or constitutional amendment also. So in Shankari Prasad case, Supreme Court came to a conclusion that it what? It does not include constitutional amendment Law in Article 13 does not include constitutional amendment. So you can amend fundamental right. Amend fundamental right. But in Golaknath case, Supreme Court what? Overturned this order, and Supreme Court said what? Fundamental rights have transcendental character and no law can take away fundamental rights, not even constitutional amendment laws. Not even constitutional amendment law. This means what? Law in Article 13 now included what? Constitutional amendment laws also. But in Keshav Nanda Bharati case, Supreme Court overturned the Golaknath case judgment, and Supreme Court said what? That fundamental rights can be amended, but without touching basic structure. Fundamental rights can be amended without changing basic structure. Without changing basic structure. So now the position is what? Law in Article 13. Does it include constitutional amendment law or it does not include constitutional amendment law? Does not. Law in Article 13 does not include constitutional amendment law. That is the present position in our constitutional jurisprudence. Is this clear? So question can come, Parliament can amend the fundamental right, true or false? Yes, but without violating basic structure. And what is basic structure? Supreme Court in various judgments have kept on adding basic structure. And one statement is whatever contained in the preamble is basic structure. Whatever is contained in the preamble is basic structure. Preamble is not the basic structure. This is very critical. You must differentiate this. Supreme Court has said that whatever is contained in the preamble constitute basic structure. Preamble itself is not basic structure. Preamble can be amended. Means addition to the preamble can be made. Deletion cannot be made. You cannot remove secular or you cannot remove democratic. Addition you can make. You can strengthen it. And that we did through 42nd Amendment Act 1976. We added how many words? Ma'am, how many words we added through 42nd Amendment? Though. How many words we have added through 42nd Amendment? Bas. Integrity also, na? 3 words. Huh? 3. Yes, 3 words. So, what is the position? Preamble does not include, basic structure does not include preamble. Basic structure includes whatever is there in preamble. There is a basic difference. If I say whatever is there in the preamble is basic structure, this means what? I can not delete anything. I can add anything. And that is why after this judgment was in 1973, but in 42nd Amendment preamble was amended. Addition to the preambles were made. But deletion cannot be made. Deletion, you cannot remove Parliament. Or you cannot remove equality word. You cannot remove. In various judgments you can go through this list of basic structure given. Is fundamental right basic structure, sir? No. Hey, my question was simple, sir. Does basic structure include fundamental right? Have you gone through the list of basic structure in Lakshmikant? No, sir, my question is very simple. Does fundamental right comes in basic structure or not? See, when I say fundamental right can be amended, this means what? Fundamental right is not the basic structure. Only those values of fundamental right which are there in the preamble cannot be amended. Like fundamental right to equality cannot be amended, but fundamental right to property was amended. It was deleted only. Understood this? This is a basic difference. Harmony between fundamental right and DPSP, this is basic structure. If you see the list, fundamental right is not mentioned. Harmony between fundamental right and DPSP is mentioned. Further, only those fundamental rights which are having the values of the preamble, like equality, liberty of belief, faith, conscience, like freedom of religion, those cannot be deleted. But right to property was not mentioned in the preamble. So why it was not mentioned in the preamble? Question 2016. Which of the following word is not mentioned in the preamble? Liberty of thought, economic liberty, economic justice, and social justice. Yes. Liberty of thought, economic liberty, economic justice, social justice. See, in our constitution, only liberty of thought, belief, and faith is there. Economic liberty is not there. This was the question. If economic liberty was there, then right to property cannot be deleted. Understood? Liberty has been qualified in our preamble, and that qualification is what? Liberty of belief, faith, and conscience, not economic liberty. If economic liberty was there mentioned in our preamble, then right to property cannot be deleted after basic structure. Understood now? So only those fundamental rights who have the values of the preamble are protected. Are protected. Understood? Conceptual clarity is coming or not? We are restricting ourselves to prelims only. We are not going deep. Sir, clear? So question will come, which of the following are basic structure? So आप देख के मार देना. Question will give you trap that fundamental right is or not. No, fundamental right is not there. Harmony between fundamental right and DPSP is there. This was given in which judgment? Minerva Mill case. So amendment chapter we have done. Third is what? Federal, this is important, federal system with unitary bias. So our constitution is what? A federal constitution. Question can come, please be attentive. Which of the following is a necessary element of federal feature? Written constitution, independence of judiciary, division of power, and bicameralism. All of these. Written constitution, division of power, written constitution, division of power, independence of judiciary, and what is an essential feature of federal country or federal constitution? Essential feature is what, sir? Division of power. Basically federalism means what? Power is divided between the provinces and the center. But this has to be divided in only a written constitution. We need a written constitution to divide the power. If it is unwritten, then there cannot be complete division. So written constitution becomes an essential feature of federalism. Whenever you divide, there will be what? Bound to be conflict. Whenever you divide something, there is bound to be conflict. So we need independence of judiciary also. Whenever there will be division, there will be requirement of independence of judiciary. So these are some vital features of question which are the essential feature of unitary government? Unwritten constitution. Essential. Which of the following is an essential feature of unitary government? First option, unwritten constitution. Is it essential? No. It is not essential. But for a federal country, written constitution is essential. Next, this question can come, which of the following makes India a federal country? Which of the following makes India a federal country? So these 4 features makes India a federal country. Independence of judiciary, division of power, which is there mentioned in which schedule? Division of power? No, 7th schedule. अभी तो किया discuss. 7th schedule. Concurrent list, union list, state list. This is division of power. Next is parliamentary form of government. This question has come twice. India has parliamentary form of government. 4 options. Lok Sabha is directly elected. Second, executive is responsible to legislature. Lok Sabha can be dissolved. No, Raj Sabha cannot be dissolved. And there was some 4th option also. Let me go through. What is the answer of this? What is the answer of this? What makes India a parliamentary form of government? Huh? Please think. Please think. True, exactly. See, democracies are divided into, democratic form of government is divided into either parliamentary or presidential. In presidential system, we have separation of power. In parliamentary system, we have responsibility of executive to the legislature. So, this is the vital element of parliamentary form of government. Not this. Lok Sabha can be indirectly elected also. Lok Sabha can be indirectly elected also. Do you think in US is a democracy, that Congress is directly elected or indirectly elected? Huh? President is directly elected or indirectly elected? In India, parliamentary form is not because of that directly elected Lok Sabha. It is because executive is responsible to legislature. That is the meaning of parliamentary form of government. Responsibility of executive to the legislature. That is the core meaning of parliamentary form of government. Another question one year has come. In India, which of the principles are implied institutionally in parliamentary government? First, members of cabinet are members of parliament also. Second, members hold office till they enjoy confidence of the house. Third, cabinet is headed by head of the state. First, members of cabinet are members of parliament also. Cabinet is headed by the head of the state. This is third statement. Second is ministers hold office till they enjoy confidence of parliament. What implies that India is a parliamentary system? From that, what implies? Which of the 3 statement implies? First, it says that members of the cabinet should be members of parliament. Is it true? Yes. After 6 months, they have to become the members of parliament. Second, cabinet is directly responsible to the parliament. Basically Lok Sabha, but parliament. Third, head of the cabinet should be head of the state. No. In parliamentary form of government, we have two types of head. Head of nominal head, which is called head of the state, which is president, and head of the government, or real head, which is prime minister. So this is important. Why we have a parliamentary system? We have a parliamentary system because we have our executive, which is directly responsible to the legislature. From here on only, let us take one more topic which is important this year. There was a no confidence motion this year, or not? Do you know this? Huh? So my question is, no confidence motion is related to this or not? responsibility of executive to the legislature. My question is no confidence motion mentioned in the constitution or not? Is no confidence motion mentioned in the constitution or not? No. It is a convention of parliamentary democracies. It is a convention. Rules में है, but constitution में नहीं है. Lok Sabha rules has, but not in the constitution. Further, if no confidence motion is passed, the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers has to resign. So this question can come. No confidence motion can come this year. No confidence motion. We'll do when we do Parliament. Next, synthesis of parliamentary system or parliamentary supremacy and judicial supremacy. See, there is something called parliamentary sovereignty. There is another word which is called parliamentary supremacy. And judicial supremacy. Question is, Indian Constitution has parliamentary sovereignty, parliamentary supremacy or judicial supremacy. Or fourth is constitutional supremacy or constitution supremacy. What is the answer? Fourth. But let us try to understand what is the meaning of parliamentary sovereignty and how and why it is different from parliamentary supremacy. What is parliamentary sovereignty? See, in Britain, parliament is sovereign. This means what? Decisions of parliament cannot be reviewed by judiciary. India does not have parliamentary sovereignty because decisions of parliament can be reviewed by the judiciary. Decisions of parliament can be reviewed by judiciary. That is why India does not have parliamentary sovereignty. In India, who is sovereign? Legally, constitution is sovereign. In popular terms, people are sovereign. We the people. There is a very fine difference. In India, who is sovereign? Legally, constitution is sovereign. Legally, constitution is sovereign. But who gives the power to the constitution? Preamble says, we the people. So popular sovereignty lies where? People. But in the British Parliament or in the British system, sovereignty lies with Parliament. It is said that British Parliament can do anything except making a man a woman and a woman a man. Other than it can do anything. Means that unlimited power. Understood this? So this fine difference. Can we move forward? This concept is clear? Then independence of judiciary. Next feature of our constitution is independence of judiciary. Basically it is a feature of federal feature only. Federal feature only, independence of judiciary. Can you list out factors which make our judiciary independent? Ma'am, what makes Indian judiciary independent? लोकल ट्रेन शताब्दी अभी तो नया एक्सप्रेस इतना फास्ट टाइम जल्दी कोई है अभी कौन सा विच एक्सप्रेस हैज कम वंदे मातरम स्टूडेंट चाहिए हमको वंदे भारत जल्दी जल्दी बोलो लोकल ट्रेन चल रहा है अभी गर्म हो रहा है वो हाँ यस एक्सीलेंट चार्ज एक्सपेंडिचर salaries are charged charge expenditure means what which cannot be voted excellent what comes under charge expenditure question can come which of the following are charge expenditure election commission salary is charged or not no There is a fine difference. Election Commission, although it is a constitutional body, its salary is not charged. CAG salary is charged. CAG. It is fine difference. Generally, trap can be laid. Salaries of which of the following dignitaries or constitutional authorities are charged? According to my knowledge, Election Commission salary is not charged. Okay. CAG is there, Supreme Court judge is there, President, all this are there. So, one is second, security of tenure. They can only be removed through impeachment. Next, what else? Their domain or their work or jurisdiction cannot be reduced by the, this. Yes, it cannot be debated in the parliament. They have contempt of court power. All these are the factors which leads to independent judiciary. So these are the most important aspects in this chapter which can come. We have single citizenship. This is, everyone knows, no need to discuss. So these are the features of our constitution. In this chapter, I will suggest you please go through all the schedules. Question is very famous. This very favorite question of UPSC. They'll ask which schedule is for what? Very favorite question. So first schedule is for what? Names of states and UTs. Second schedule is for what? What now? Okay. Emoluments and salary. Third schedule? Oaths. Please go through whose oaths. Go through that list. Whose oaths are mentioned? CAG oath is mentioned or not? CAG, Comptroller and Account and Auditor General. Please go through that. Oath. Fourth is what? State seats in Rajya Sabha. Fifth is all what? Tribal area, schedule areas in tribal areas. Sixth is what? Yes, Northeast. Seventh is what? This we have done. Division of power. Eighth is what? Language. Ninth is what? This asked last year, ninth schedule. No ma'am, that is not evolution of Jamindari system. Ninth schedule says that any act under ninth schedule cannot be reviewed by the Supreme Court. They are protected from judicial review. Last year question. Let me. Might be. See, ninth schedule was asked last year. Ninth schedule is what? Last year question was that laws put in ninth schedule are protected from judicial review. Ninth schedule. Then 10th schedule is for anti-defection. This is your judicial review. Anti-defection law. 11th schedule is for how many lists are there? How many subjects are there? 29 and 18. Why was this asked last year, 9th schedule? Can anyone answer this? See, last year there was a controversy on SC/ST bill. So Parliament said that we will put this ST/SC bill in 9th schedule. After that judgment of the Supreme Court, where it was said that they have diluted some of the provisions of the ST/SC Act. So Parliament again amended that Act and said that we will put them into put that Act in 9th schedule, so that it will be protected from the judicial review. However, Supreme Court has said that in Ayer Coelho judgment, that even laws which are there in the 9th schedule, if they violate basic structure and if those laws are added to 9th schedule after 1973 Keshananda Bharati case, then we have the power to review it. In Ayer Coelho judgment, Supreme Court has said, see, Ayer Coelho judgment came in which year? 2006-07. See, after 10 years they have asked again, 2017. After 10 years, they have asked in 2017. क्या सर? मजा आ रहा है? आ रहा मजा? ऐसे ही आता है. Ayer Coelho. So sir, we have done. Please, I will request you go through all the schedule, go through all the parts, at least the important parts, at least on the important parts. This also I will suggest you go through that factual part. We have borrowed what from where? We have borrowed what from where? Okay, now let us, very important chapter, preamble. So preamble, basically if you see from the prelims point of view, what is important in preamble is that it is basically, it was the objective resolution. This can come. Objective resolution. It was introduced by whom? Jawaharlal Nehru in 1946. Adopted in 1947. This can come. Then many times they have asked which of these following values or word is mentioned in the preamble. So you have to basically remember each and every word of the preamble. Like in 2016 they have said economic liberty, it is not there. For God's sake, don't make such kind of mistakes. Please remember each and every word of the preamble, because they have tendency of asking this. Which of the following words are mentioned in the preamble? Economic liberty is not mentioned. Economic justice is mentioned. So this can come. So you have to read this, remember each and every word. Further question can come, what does preamble tells to us? What is preamble indicating to us? So first, power. From where does constitution gets its power? So we the people. Second, nature of polity or nature of state. Nature of polity or state. So our nature is what? Sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, republic. Sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic and republic. Ideals which the state should aspire for. Ideals which the state should aspire for. These ideals are justice, then equality, liberty, all this. And last but not the least, the date of adoption. This can come in prelims, in preamble. Date of adoption. Next question which can come, is preamble the part of the constitution or not? Is preamble part of the constitution or not? Yes. Yes. See, initially in Berubari judgment in 1960 they said that preamble is not the part of the constitution. But in Keshav Nanda Bharati case, Supreme Court overturned that and said that preamble is part of the constitution, and as any other part of the constitution which can be amended, preamble can also be amended. So that is why we see that 42nd Amendment 1976 added 3 words by amending the preamble. Understood? Now the jurisprudence on preamble is what? Preamble is part of the constitution, an integral part of the constitution. One more thing, preamble was voted after the entire constitution was voted last way. This can come not in the beginning, in the last, because they wanted what? That there must be what? Synergy between preamble and whatever there is inside. Because preamble is what? Like an indication what to expect inside the constitution, like a preface, like an introduction to the book. By reading the first page, we can get to know what is there inside the book. Similarly, by reading the preamble, we can get to know what we can have to expect inside the constitution. So preamble is what? Introduction to the constitution. So let us now take few of the important things inside also. What is sovereign? First word of preamble is sovereign. Let us see. It says that Indian state is sovereign state. Basically, no power above it. We have also said that legal sovereignty lies with the constitution and popular sovereignty lies with the people of India. This is done. Second, what is the second word in the preamble? Socialist. So, our socialism, although the preamble or the constitution does not define socialism, but various Supreme Court judgments have defined socialism as what? How socialism has been defined in India? Democratic socialism. Our socialism is what? Democratic socialism. Basically, it is what? Removal of exploitation from society through democratic means, not through communist socialism, through revolution. It is through democratic means. Removal of hunger, poverty, all this is. Third, that is why we went for what? Mixed economy. If you see the Marxian socialism or communist socialism, they have what? Public ownership, complete public ownership. But we went for democratic socialism. Our socialism is a bit different. Next one is secular. Again, our secularism is different from Western secularism. In Western secularism, there is complete separation. That is a negative. Western secularism is a negative form of secularism. Complete separation between state and religion. Our is what? Positive secularism. Equidistance. State is equidistant from religion, all the religion. So in our case, state can interfere in the religious matters in order to reform the society. Now you understand this Sabrimala judgment. What? It is a religious issue. However, Supreme Court said what? Women are allowed to enter the temple, because our secularism is different from Western secularism. Here the state has been given the authority to intervene in the religious matters for social reform. That is why this laws related to women, marriage, they were reformed. Equidistance, equal respect to all religions. no discrimination. Our state does not have religion. That is also, the state does not have any religion. If you see Pakistan, it is a secular country or it's an Islamic country. The state has a religion. Our state does not have any religion. That is our form of secularism. One more fine difference is between Indian secularism and Western secularism. Western secularism do not give community rights to minority, but our secularism gives community rights to minorities. France, it's a secular country, but minority rights are not granted, like in Indian case. Community rights are not granted. Individual rights are granted. You can do your religious practices at your home, but outside, if you wear some kind of dresses, there was a controversy in France, they were not allowing. Why? Because that is a negative concept of secularism, complete separation. Here, we have a positive concept. State will be equidistant. Next, what is the idea? Democratic. Again, one question has come, we have already discussed that in democracy, strength of people is important, or strength of leader is important, or strength of political party is important. People, because democracy is ruled by the people, for the people and of the people. Democracies are of two types, direct and indirect. India has which kind of democracy? Indirect. Indirect. But there is direct democracy in India also, at the local level, Gram Sabha level. There is direct democracy also in India at Gram Sabha level, direct democracy. But in general question will come, India is what kind of democracy? Indirect. But for your knowledge, direct democracy exists in India at the local government level. Gram Sabha, Gram Panchayat is nothing but direct democracy. So this is important. Next, republic. This we all know, republic means elected head. What is difference between Indian parliamentary system and the British parliamentary system? The basic difference is what? Our democratic system is republic. Their democratic system is monarchy. Clear? Now let us go to the ideals. First, if you see, they can ask this question also, that what is the chronology of ideals? So first comes justice, then comes equality, and then comes liberty. This is very important to remember. They can ask you, what is the chronology of these ideas or values? First comes justice, then comes equality, and last comes liberty. If you see this case only, Sabrimala case, justice has taken precedence over liberty. Some people are saying we have what? Freedom to religion, you are interfering. But justice has to be done. Women liberty is also involved, but I am talking about a larger issue, that in our case justice comes first, then equality, then liberty. Liberty is at the end. So justice we have social, economic and political. Social justice basically, no discrimination is social justice. No discrimination is social justice. Economic justice, again no discrimination on the basis of economic status. Removal of poverty, inequality is economic justice. Political justice means what? Women, men, both have equal rights, equal vote, that is political justice. One man, one vote. One man, one vote. Participation of women is in politics. Equality, equality of status, opportunity, and what is equality of status and opportunity? And liberty of thought. Here one question once they have asked, economic liberty. So economic liberty is not mentioned in our constitution. This is important. Equality of status, opportunity, and liberty of thought and expression. Sorry, actually it is first, second is liberty, third is equality. Sorry. So even this chapter we have covered the important. I will be repeating what is important here. First, preamble is part of constitution. Yes. Preamble can be amended. Yes. Preamble came from objective resolution. Preamble defines the state. Yes. Preamble gives the aims and objective of the state. Yes. Preamble tells which is the ultimate, where the ultimate power lies. Yes. Preamble tells the date of adoption. Yes. And then inside also we have done small explanation we have done, so that any question comes on the basic things we will be able to answer it. Next is union territory. In this only one topic, states and UT, only one topic is important this year. They can ask you that first schedule 1 consists what? Schedule 1. Second, they can ask you creation of state. Parliament has the power to create any state with or without the consent of the state. Is it true or false? In India, Parliament has the power to create any state, any new state, with or without the consent of the states. Yes. Second, one more important, whenever the bill is introduced to create a new state, it has to have what? Permission of the president. Third is, creation of new laws which create new states are not considered amendment under Article 368 we have done. Because we have to amend Schedule 1. Schedule 1 comes in Constitution, so it is a Constitutional Amendment Act, Constitution Amendment. But it is not considered constitutional amendment under Article 368. Understood? So only these three things are important in this chapter. Only these three things are important. What is it? That Parliament has been empowered by the Constitution to create, name new states. Although there is a provision where the opinion of the state is taken, but it is what? Not binding on the union government. It is not binding on the Parliament. But there is a provision that the bill will be sent to the states also to know their opinion. But that opinion is not binding. Third, it can only be introduced after the permission of the president. And these bills or these acts are not considered Constitutional Amendment Act under Article 368. This means what? Special majority or simple majority? Simple. Simple. This only 4 chapter is done. Sister, clear? Huh? उधर देख रहा आप. Clear these three things? Tell me. In India, who has the power to create new states? Huh? In India, who has the power to create new states? President, Parliament or state legislature? हाँ? इसलिए बोला ना उधर और बात करो, कर लो, टॉप कर जाएगा आप इस बार. मैं पकड़ लिया उसको, उधर है उसका ध्यान. आप बोलो सर. In India, who has the power? Sir, who has the power? Parliament. ऐसे बोलो ना. आप बहुत इधर ऐसे ऐसे नहीं, कान सीधा. Because prelims question will be very direct, statement will come. Parliament has been given power to create new states. हाँ, After the permission of President, the bill will be introduced. Opinion of the state will be taken, but it is not binding. And these are not considered Constitutional Amendment Act under Article 368, therefore simple majority. Next, citizenship. It is also very important this year. Sir, please. Citizenship. So we have said that before there was democracy or before there was a constitutional government, people were not citizens, they were subjects. People were not citizens, they were subjects. What is the difference between a subject and a citizen? Subject has no rights. What qualifies or defines citizen? Rights. So before the advent of democracy and constitutionalism, there was no concept of, although there was citizenship concept is ancient in Greek, cities also they had citizenship. But the modern concept of citizenship is more related to what? Rights. What is the difference between an Indian citizen and a foreigner who comes to India? Rights. There are other differences also, but what is the fundamental difference? Fundamental rights which are mentioned in the part 3 and protected by the constitution is only available to the citizen and not available to a foreigner who is traveling to India. That is the fundamental difference. So what qualifies a citizen? Rights. So citizenship is basically what? A political concept. A political concept. So in India, Constitution defines who is the citizen only in Act 1950. After that, Parliament has been empowered to legislate a law upon acquisition and termination of citizenship. This is very important. Question can come. Constitution regulates acquisition and termination of citizenship. True or false? Ma'am? Constitution regulates acquisition of citizenship or not in India? There is a separate law under Article 11. So in this chapter, don't read all these things. Because Constitution only defines who was the citizen at 1950. These things are not important. These things are not important. What is important is difference between citizen and an alien. On prelims perspective, what is important? Difference between citizen and alien. So there are some rights, fundamental rights only given to citizens. What are they? (15, 16, 19, 29 and 30. These are the fundamental rights only available to citizens. Right to equality is available to citizen or anyone? Anyone. Only these fundamental rights are available to citizens. Right? Right not to be discriminated in employment, otherwise they will also come and write UPSC, compete with you. Further, there are some special privileges only given to citizens. What are they? Right to vote, right to contest election, position of president, vice president and attorney general, and judges of Supreme Court and High Court. Right to vote, right to contest election, position of president, vice president, attorney general, Supreme Court and High Court. So can an alien become the Prime Minister of India? Why? No, but these positions are there, na? Only these positions are to be held by the citizen. But right to contest, without contesting, how can you become the Prime Minister? So right to contest and right to vote is only given to citizen. So this is important in this chapter. This year, if you read this magazine, there is one bill also, citizenship bill. So that is also important. They can ask you in the citizenship bill what are the provisions given. So if you see the Citizenship Act 1955, we said what? That under Article 11, Parliament has been empowered by the Constitution to formulate a law to regulate acquisition and termination of citizenship. In the exercise of that, Parliament enacted Citizenship Act 1955. After exercising that powers, Parliament has enacted Citizenship Act 1955. After that, there has been many amendments. One of the bill to amend is still pending in the Parliament. This bill is very important this year. We'll come to that bill, but before that, let us see few other things. One provision of Constitution says what? Single citizenship. India has single citizenship. If you acquire citizenship of any other country, you will lose Indian citizenship. This was also a provision of the Constitution. So, one of our fugitive has acquired citizenship of another country. Who is that? So, this is very important. They can ask you. If a citizen, Indian citizen acquires citizenship of another country, he loses his Indian citizenship. Current affairs. All these people, they are acquiring citizenship of, they are looting India and they are acquiring citizenship of another country to avoid extradition and whatever the legal process. So citizenship is very important. Citizenship. Single citizenship, there is no separate citizenship of state and federal. Only one citizenship is there. Further, if you acquire citizenship of another country, you automatically lose the citizenship of India. So under Citizenship Act, they can tell you how many types you can acquire citizenship. How many types? 5. By birth, by descent, by naturalization, by registration, and by acquiring a territory. And you can lose citizenship through voluntary. Mr. Choksi has given up the Indian citizenship. Second, by termination. And third is deprivation. The state can deprive you of citizenship status if you become disloyal. If you start supporting whom? State will deprive you. Be aware of this. If you become disloyal, then you will be deprived of citizenship status, basically deprived of fundamental rights, because citizenship is what? A political status which gives you fundamental right. You have fundamental right because you are a citizen of the country, and you are using that fundamental right to, in this environment, some people are using, some citizens are using, so they must be what? Cautious. So this is very important. So question can come, this acquisition and termination of citizenship is mentioned in the Constitution or not? No, it is mentioned in this Act. This prelims question, prelims point of view, what they can ask is acquisition and giving up, acquiring and giving up of citizenship is regulated by the Act, not by the Constitution. What, ma'am? What for? Acquisition, when you acquire, if tomorrow we will acquire some territory, we are on the verge of fighting, we might acquire some territory. So people living there will become our citizen or not? We acquired some territories after independence or not? Can you name few territories which we acquired? Anyone? Sikkim. Those people were citizens? No, they became citizens. So now come to this bill. This bill is very important this year. So this bill says what? See, in naturalization, citizenship through naturalization. One more thing, in India, can a naturalized citizen become the president of India? Yes, but in US, no. Only citizens by birth. In India, a naturalized citizen. We'll see what is this process of naturalization. See, every state gives an opportunity to foreigners to become the part of its community, because the strength of the state is decided by what? Territory and people. More territory, you see US, large country, more resources, more powerful. So strength of the state is decided by territory and the people. So every state has this provision of citizenship through naturalization. You go there, stay for some time. If your behavior is good, citizenship status will be given to you. Under this Citizenship Act 1955, 11 years plus 1 year continuous stay in the last 14 years is a requirement. 11 years plus 1 year continuous stay in the last 14 years is a requirement. Is a requirement or not? The controversy in this bill, Citizenship Bill 2008, now it is 2018 ho gaya, is what? What is the controversy in this bill, the new bill? That they are reducing this. First, what they are doing? They are giving what? People from 3 countries, Bangladesh, Afghanistan and Pakistan, who belong to 6 religious communities. What are these 6 religious communities? Hindu, Sikh, Christian, Parsi, Buddhist and Jains. To acquire Indian citizenship only with 6 years of stay. You can read, it is 6 years only, ma'am, someone is reading, it is 6 years mentioned? Thank you, 6 years. Okay, so they are diluting what? The requirement from 11 plus 1 to 6. Further, only to these communities. So the criticism against, abhi you don't read criticism for prelims, will waste time. Okay. Criticism says that it is discrimination against one religion. We all know it is against Muslims are not included. So that is a criticism. Further, it also what? Gives illegal migrants a chance to become citizen of India. Illegal migrant has been defined. Question: illegal migrants have been defined by the Constitution. True or false? False. So where has been illegal migrant defined? Citizenship Act 1955. The definition of illegal migrant is anyone entering India without a valid document or entering with a valid document but staying beyond the permission is an illegal migrant. Anyone, like all these terrorists, they migrate illegally without valid document. So illegal migrant has been defined in 1955 Act. Anyone coming to India without a valid document or with a valid document but overstaying is called illegal migrant. So it gives a chance even to the illegal migrants to become the citizen of India. That is why the controversy in Assam is about what? These migrants who have come in, they might get citizenship. And this might violate the Assam Accord of 1986. They will say Assam Accord is on what? Citizenship, basically. It said what? Whoever has migrated to India before the night of 23rd March 1971. ये बोला ना? If I am correct. 23rd or 24th? 23rd 12 PM, right? मतलब 24th. Assam Accord. So this question, citizenship, please. Last year they have asked, Aadhaar is citizenship status. No. Why this question was asked last year? Many Rohingya migrants, illegal migrants, it was alleged that they are acquiring Aadhaar, so they will become citizens of India. No. Aadhaar is not a grant of citizenship status. Citizenship status is only granted through that act, Citizenship Act. Aadhaar is from some other act. There is one more concept, National Register of Citizens, NRC. This is under Citizenship Act. NRC is a legal requirement under Citizenship Act. So there is difference between what? Aadhaar and NRC. Even a foreigner can get Aadhaar. Aadhaar is only for service delivery. It is an administrative requirement or facilitating administrative process. But citizenship is what? Different thing related to fundamental rights, constitution, all those things. More of a political concept. It is an administrative concept. So this citizenship is done. Rights. You can. What is the time for today's class? Okay, we have time. We'll start tomorrow. So today, if you have any doubt, you tell me.